Okay, back in 2013, Canterbury had a huge windstorm, and it just took down trees left, right and centre. It cost $68 million was the actual cost, but I believe it's actually gone a bit over that, and I think it's up near the 80 million now. So it did wreak real havoc, and obviously there were gusts over 250 kilometres an hour, which was pretty horrific. Power lines down everywhere. A lot of rural Canterbury was out power for several days because trees were down, and all the trees had to be cleared by the lines people. Made lots and lots of problems. There were tens of thousands of trees lost in the area. Often some whole plantations went down, and some people actually had them as retirement funds, and the trees unfortunately were not millable, so they were too small, and left a dilemma in what the heck do we do with them, who's going to clean them up, that type of thing. And obviously buildings were lost. A lot of sheds went down on rural properties. There were fires, which obviously caused problems, but of course it was compounded by the fact that the fire brigades couldn't actually get to the fires in some instances because there were too many trees down, and or power lines down, which actually caused but the biggest worry really for us was the entanglement of trees and branches and that in the whole area. And I'll just show you a slide now of some photos that were taken. You can see they were freestanding trees the day before, and they've been absolutely blown over, truck blow over. The one up in the top right is actually irrigators on a dairy farm. A lot of those were parked in the wrong angle and got blown over. Lots and lots of damage. Irrigators were out for several months because their parts had to come from Germany. The mains power people had to clear the trees. And you can see down in the bottom left, trees just uprooted totally, and those trees, because they're reasonably shallow rooted, just fell over, took the roots and that exactly with them. And that's a real worry with trees like that, because there had actually been a fatality in our area some years ago now where a child was playing in the root ball, and the parents were actually cleaning the tree up, and next thing the tree just stood up and actually squashed the child completely in the root ball. It was very tragic. So that was a major problem. So that was something that we actually wanted to get across, that was a major problem, and just don't take them too carefully, or take them very carefully. The other one was if you cut one branch, what's actually going to be the flow-on effects? There are actually lots and lots of trees that are actually entangled, and they may look like you just cut one branch, but of course that branch might be loading up another one, or what can actually happen. And a lot of inexperienced people can actually get very caught out by that, and that was a major worry, because we saw all these trees down and people just getting stuck in and not knowing what they were doing. Chainsaws obviously have a huge kickback, and that's something that we really wanted to get that message through to people. Different types of chainsaws for different jobs. If you've got a huge log to cut, you can't use a small chainsaw because it just won't do the job, and that's another thing that we really wanted to focus on. And an awful lot of chainsaws out there are not well serviced. The chains are very blunt, and they just won't cut properly. If you've got to force the chainsaw through a tree, it means it's not sharpened properly. So those were some of the things we worked on. And obviously when it came up, we didn't have a lot of time, because we recognised this was something urgent. But in New Zealand, there was in 2012 there was just over 1,400 claims relating to chainsaw injuries, and that does not include forestry. That is largely farming, lifestyle and urban areas, so it is quite an issue. And 188 serious claim harms, and unfortunately there were 6 fatalities. And of all tree-related fatalities, that was actually 20% of all tree-related fatalities. So it is quite something, and you can see there an illustration of a kickback that's got the guy just around the neck, and it does serious harm, and it happens so quickly that people just don't know what's going on. And in our area, we are largely a lifestyle block area, and a lot of people that live on the lifestyle blocks actually work in Christchurch City, and they're townies that have basically moved out with the appeal of living locally, living rurally. And they all of a sudden are faced with this huge problem with trees down over neighbours' fences. Stock can actually get through, and what the heck do we do? So immediately after, the chainsaw retailers just recorded record number of chainsaw sales in the area, and that really sent alarm bells through us and some of the other safety organisations. So we thought, heck, we better do something about this. This is urgent. If the longer we leave it, the more chance there are of dangers happening. So a lot of the people that actually bought them were totally inexperienced. They had no idea. They'd probably never used a chainsaw before, and we were putting out the message, if you don't know what to do, don't do it, get the professionals in. But unfortunately the professionals were just so busy that they just could not get to all the jobs, and there was such a long waiting list, and we were really worried that people would just be taking it into their own hands and going out and doing something. So that was a major concern, particularly as it happened in September, and with New Zealand summer being not far away, we thought people will really want to get it cleared up before summer, because as the pine trees, which was the great majority, and the other ones that fell down were largely eucalyptus trees, both of which when they dry out are very, very flammable. So that was something that was also a consideration that we needed to get across. So once we decided that, we identified some key stakeholders. One is Worksafe, which was Department of Labour, the local chainsaw retailers. We got involved with the Lifestyle Block Association, which was very proactive in promoting it for us, and Accident Compensation Commission too, because they had a vested interest in it as well. So we engaged with the local chainsaw retailers. We met to discuss what we could actually do, and they were fully supportive of it. They were also very concerned about the potential problems that could exist. So what we decided to do was contact a local chainsaw instructor, and he's a guy that works for agribusiness training, and that's one of his jobs. He's been in the industry for many, many years, and Injury Prevention Waimakariri, who I actually work for, we actually paid for him to come and do it. And the local chainsaw retailers, one put on a barbecue, and the other two put up a $250 prize for safety gear. So that was really well received by the people that were there. And some of the things we looked at were like learning to use the chain brake. There was a number of people that had actually been carrying saws around going and not realised that there was even a chain brake there. How to manage difficult tree cutting situations, what are the flow-on effects, how could, if I cut that branch, what could actually happen, what could fall on me, have I got a clear safety zone, if I cut something and it's falling, can I get out of here, and approach everything with caution and self-protection. A lot of people just tend to race in and don't think it through. Sometimes a few minutes thinking about things can save a lifetime's grief. We also had our local council fire safety officer come along and give a talk about some potential fire safety issues with chainsaws, where to fill them, and you know, cutting a tree and actually hitting a rock and sparking things. That could be a major problem. Understanding the chain and the bar and the importance of getting that sharp, and how to tune it and make sure that your oil's working and everything was important. But the key thing that really we wanted to push as well was wearing the right safety gear. A whole lot of people did not have the safety chaps trousers, and a number were even cutting without earmuffs in sort of discussion with them afterwards. So those were things that we really wanted to push, and the fact that they, you know, needed steel toe cap boots, and ideally a helmet on if something falls on you, and gloves as well. Goggles is another point that we actually pushed. So some of those were things that the chainsaw retailers did report. They got some sales coming up in the future with those. So that made it quite successful to actually hear that. The promotion of it, well, we looked at what was the best way, and we decided that it was best to go direct to the customers. So all the local chainsaw retailers contacted all their customers that had bought in the last 6 months, sent them out a copy of a flyer, which I'll show you in a minute, and we also had posters up at the retailer as well. Injury Prevention did some local newspaper advertising to push the fact that the courses were on, and also some key tips on how to actually keep yourself safe around trees. The local newspapers actually covered the storm quite well and were very, very supportive of putting articles in about our training day, so that worked pretty well. We used our Facebook page as well to promote it. As I said, the retailer surprised a barbecue, and that was very well received. And we used the resources that Worksafe put together. That's a copy of our chainsaw operating seminar advert, which if anybody's interested, I'll be more than happy to email it to you. There's no problem if you just contact me. My details are at the last slide. And that's a copy of, sorry about the quality, but the wind-blown chainsaw tree risk, that was one of the articles that was put in by the local paper. And the one on the right is actually our chainsaw safety advert that we put in. We put that through about 3 local newspapers. And the resources, this was one that Worksafe New Zealand had actually done. It was prior to that, Department of Labour, but it was a very, very good extensive guide on how to be safe around chainsaws, and we actually printed that out and gave it to all the participants. And we also went to the local chainsaw hire places and gave them copies as well to give out with all the chainsaws that we're hiring, because that's another worrying area, that people are hiring them and they really have no idea what and how to actually use a chainsaw. We actually had 42 attendees came along, and there's some of the comments that what they actually wrote on their returns that they sent. So to learn, and I did, that was something that most people actually supported. This is just a brief summary of some of them. There was a lot more than this, but I picked out some key ones. Become more aware and safety conscious, and yes, I learnt a lot. There's a photo on the right there of Matt Durning, our chainsaw instructor, showing people that's basically how to sharpen the chain. Learn how to use my chainsaw more safely. Expectations were met. Bought a new chainsaw was the reason they came along. And learn more detail about chainsaw use from a professional. So everybody was very, very complimentary and very happy to come along. The course we actually paid for, and it was done for free, so we thought that if people have to pay, they're probably a little less likely to come along. And most of the people that came along would probably be generally termed as lifestyle block people, so they were probably our key area, the people that were largely not knowing really what to actually do if something did go wrong. Agribusiness training does do full courses, which Matt actually runs over a couple of days, and there were some people that certainly moved on and did those, so we offered them the opportunity. Worksafe New Zealand are now actually working with the local retailers, not only chainsaws but many retailers that sell products like chainsaws, to make sure that when they're actually selling something like this, that a necessary safety equipment is actually provided or promoted at the time of selling. It's not just the saw, but it's the whole package that you actually do have that. So what are we doing about the future? We're actually sourcing copies of the book, the Worksafe book, and printing them off and giving them out. When hired chainsaws, we're giving them out to local retailers to give out, although some of the retailers, Husqvarna and Still, who are quite strong in our area, have some excellent training books in there. Owner's handbooks, very, very complimentary as well, so probably not so much need there, but there are a lot of other chainsaws being sold that are not recognised brands, and there's not so many safety tips with those, so we're making sure that they get them. We're developing a quick tip resources, so that here's just some quick tips. We are looking at another course very shortly. We hope to probably run them annually. Just the exact content and who's going to pay, we're just working through that one at the moment. We want to work with the hire outlets particularly, and some of the DIY stores, not quite so much the chainsaw retailers because they seem to be reasonably au fait with chainsaw and chainsaw safety, but some of the DIY staff and some of the hire people staff are not really familiar with chainsaws, so we want to actually work with them and make sure that they are passing on the message that safety is absolutely paramount. And we're also looking at broader promotions across what can we actually do. And there are my contact details, so if anybody wishes to contact me, I'd be more than happy to actually give you more information. I do have more information obviously that I can send you if anybody does want it, but we think it was a pretty good successful thing, and the general comments back from the public were very favourable, and we didn't get any adverse comments at all, so we think we've probably done quite a good job with it. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you.